Dr. Morgan, let's talk about your position, new position, and it's kind of a mouthful. So
Right.
for laymen, can you explain what your position is and your responsibilities?
Oh, yes, certainly. Thank you very much. My position at NOAA is as the Assistant Secretary within the Department of Commerce for Environmental Observations and Prediction. It's one of the two Assistant Secretary level positions that are Senate confirmed leadership positions within NOAA, and I report directly to the NOAA Administrator, Dr. Rick Spinrad. As you're probably aware, NOAA is one of the few federal agencies that has in its mission statement a predictions in the mission statement. And so observations and modeling underpin all that we at NOAA do in terms of our science, service, and stewardship to the nation. And we provide these services every day. And so in my role, I provide information to the agency on both observations and prediction. How do we take observations, that's weather, climate, water observations, as well, ocean observations, as well as ocean species observations, and how do we turn that into predictions? So that's the role that I play.
Great. And what are some of your goals that you hope to accomplish?
Well, I identified 3 goals when I was testifying before the Senate. Goal number 1 is in that prediction capacity is enhancing our country's capabilities in terms of Earth system prediction. So it's not just the numerical weather prediction part that everyone's familiar with, but a broader theme in predicting the oceans, the atmosphere, cryosphere, and ecosystems, being able to enhance that. And that's going to be done by improving our models, our modeling capability, and strengthening the models, strengthening how we best use those observations to get them into the models that we call data assimilation, identifying new observational platforms that are going to help increase our the quality of our predictions, and then finally making sure that we have the high performance supercomputing necessary to run the models and to make sure that our models are best set up to take advantage of that new high performance computing. So that's number 1, it's enhancing our predictive capacity. The second area is really in the development of a platform that makes weather and climate data accessible to the public in ways that they can understand and use. And so this is the development of a platform that allows for rapid access to data, not just on weather and climate data, but also on socioeconomic data, demographics, economic activity. We're in the Department of Commerce, so it kind of makes sense to focus on those sorts of areas, as well as infrastructure to allow communities to best understand how they can adapt to our changing climate and how we can best understand the effects, the impacts of weather and climate variations at a community level. That third area is also, which is really important to me, is as NOAA has extensive service mission, making sure that the folks that contribute to that service, the workforce within NOAA, the diversity of that workforce in NOAA reflects the diversity of the communities that we're serving. And I think that's really important for the communication of our watches and warnings to ensure that there's that action's taken, and ensuring that we understand the differences across communities in our country to best formulate the messages that we're conveying.
Is there an inequity in that now, and why is that?
I think we can always do better in our communication of watches and warnings. We're looking right now, if you look at places, particular regions around the country, the New York City area as an example, there are hundreds of different languages that are spoken, hundreds of different groups there, making sure that people can understand the messages that are being communicated so that they can take action to save their lives, their property, and improve their livelihoods. And so we're doing our best. NOAA's always continually looking to look at service improvement, and I think we're doing that already.
What about in rural areas?
Right, it's ensuring that we can communicate the message and making sure that our message reaches those rural areas. And so when I talk about the diversity of the communities we're serving, that's an area, that's a facet of diversity that I'm most interested in as well.
And going back to the weather observations and modeling, there's a new weather satellite, correct? How does that play a role in it?
Well, we just had the JPSS-2 launch. I was able to, fortunately, be able to get out to Vandenberg to watch that. And that's a polar orbiting satellite that's going to allow us to continue our high quality predictions of a number of things. The sensors on that satellite are important for both weather and climate prediction. They provide profiles of temperature and moisture, water vapor in the atmosphere that are essential for severe weather forecasting. There are sensors on there that allow us to look at ocean color. You might think that's an odd thing, but that ocean color also provides information about harmful algal blooms. So we can make sure that our fisheries and folks that are going out to the water and their communities that might be impacted by algae growth on the tops of the oceans, they're aware of that. So we can have timely alerts for that. There's sensors also that are important for looking at ozone in the upper atmosphere, the upper troposphere, lower stratosphere, and having solid ozone measurements from one of the sensors, the OMPS sensor that's on that, coupled with improved clouds, notion of where the clouds are, and cloud forecasting allows us to have really useful UV information, so people going outside can protect themselves from harmful ultraviolet radiation.
And more on a personal note, you're from Baltimore. Can you give me a little bit about your background? There's some meteorology in there, there's some mathematics in there, correct?
Right. Well, I'll say that, I mean, going back to the JPSS-2 launch, I had an opportunity to do what they call a walk down near the spacecraft a few weeks ago before the launch. And seeing the NASA logo on there and the NOAA logo on there together, really, that's an important partnership that we have with NASA. NOAA has that partnership. Seeing those two together really brought back my own interest in science broadly. I first got interested in science with the space program, the lunar landings. And so that's that NASA component. But just growing up, I fell more and got more entranced about how the atmosphere works. And we had big snowstorms in late 1970s and early 80s, see the remnants of hurricanes and tropical weather systems moving up the East Coast. All these things really fascinated me. I'm a weather geek, a weather weenie, we sometimes refer. And so I get really excited about weather, I get really jazzed about weather. And so my background was went to school, Cambridge, Massachusetts at MIT, and studied mathematics, ultimately moved toward atmospheric science and got into research and really got enthralled with the research that I'm doing. I've been at the University of Wisconsin-Madison up until just mid-August. I'm on leave from there while I'm in this position, but I've been there as a faculty member for over 25 years, teaching students, some of them that now work in the Weather Service, which is really exciting, and doing research. And coming here to NOAA, again, going back to that, my early interest from NASA, interest in the space program, to NOAA and its really important mission. Those two coming together and seeing those two labels, those two logos rather, on the side of that spacecraft really brought something, was really a nice thing to see. And the final thing I'd like to add, I think the timing of this interview today is really nice because, NASA's going back to the moon again, and they had their launch today, which is really exciting with the Artemis launch. So a lot of exciting things happening in the world of science and a lot of incredible work that's being done here at NOAA that I'm excited about. I'm just really excited to be in this position. NOAA is a great organization with really dedicated individuals that are really working to enhance our economy, but most importantly, protect lives and property. And that's really great to be part of this mission.